have to we prepare this 5-year consolidated plan. And when it's approved by HUD, then the city becomes an entitlement community. And every year that Congress passes a HUD budget, the city's entitled to these 2 grants. So the 5-year plan outlines what we're going to do, what we plan to achieve in those 5 years with our HUD grants. And when it's approved, we get the 2 grants, the Community Development Block Grant, our CDBG grant, and our home grant for 5 years. So it's important to know that if it's not specified in the 5-year plan, then we cannot fund it with HUD funds. So we may have a really great idea to do a new project, but if it's not in the 5-year plan, we cannot fund it. So, but we could do an amendment if we needed to add, delete, or significantly modify a program or beneficiaries or activity. So the 5-year plan is really how we're going to get our HUD funds, and it really is going to detail what we're going to spend our funds on, and we don't really deviate from that. So in the prior 5-year plan, we received 18.5 million in HUD funds. And this plan that's going to end on June 30th of this year, we're estimating we're going to have $20 million in HUD funds. Some of that money did come to us through COVID, through the COVID grants that from the federal government. So it's not just our community development block grant and home grant, but there were 2 other special grants that we received. So questions for you are like, what programs do you want to see funded? Are these the programs you want to see funded with our HUD funds? So those are the kind of things you can be thinking about. And so the 5-year consolidated plan, this is just an overview. So it is the mechanism. This is how the city gets its HUD funds. And the objectives from HUD are to provide decent, affordable housing, to create a suitable living environment, and to create economic opportunities. So these are the objectives of our HUD funds. So everything we do must fall under one of these 3 categories. So it's pretty specific to housing, public improvements, and jobs, or economic development. So under that, we have for provide decent, affordable housing. We have that own and Ogden down payment assistance program. We have the emergency home repair program for low-income homeowners that have an emergency situation. And then we have the purchase, rehab, and resale, the home renovation program. And then our new infill housing for new home construction. And then under the create a suitable living environment, that's where we have our target area public improvements, where we're going into low mod income census tracts. And usually it's blocks where we're already doing a project to really boost that community. And then we have create economic opportunities, where we support the micro enterprise businesses. We do job creation through our small business loan program, and then special economic development projects that meet a specific need in the community. And the action plan, so we have the 5-year plan, which says to HUD, this is what we're going to do in the 5 years. And the action plan says, in this year, we're going to fund this program, this project, and we're going to detail a budget, and then we're going to say these are our goals for the year. So there may be things in the 5-year plan that we don't fund every year, like a target area public improvement. We just don't have the budget to do it every year. So the action plan says for this specific year, this is what we're going to fund. So and that's pretty much the framework of how the HUD funds work. So any questions so far?
I have a question. Do you all have an official definition of what you consider affordable housing? Because it seems like the state and every city that I listen to has no clue what that means to each of them. And I'm just wondering how you all view that.
Right. And so affordable is a term that HUD defines as if a person spends more than 30% of their household income on housing, it is not affordable. So affordable housing means, but so you could have a millionaire and they can, buy a home, and the
Mhm.
affordability is based on their income. So if they're paying more than 30% of their household income on that home, then they don't have an affordable home. So it really varies. It's a really tricky, yeah, it's a tricky
Yeah, yeah.
definition, but
Okay.
so
I appreciate that.
most of our homes are not affordable, but that's what we're trying to do, is preserve those homes that are possibly affordable. With our housing market right now, even the homes that we sell, we're doing the down payment assistance to help those people get in the home, but
Yeah.
they're bumping up on that affordability themselves. So we're doing everything we can to keep them at a price range and to help those low to moderate income home buyers.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Thank you.
I'm just going to briefly talk about our neighborhood revitalization, neighborhood revitalization strategy area. So this is it's NRSA it identifies a target area for the concentration of our programs. So those highlighted census tracts, which are pretty much from the river going all the way to 36th and from Harrison down to Washington. So those census tracts are where we really concentrate our HUD funds. And we've been doing that for the last 20 years. But the cool thing about that is we've seen some real progress in those census tracts. So HUD encourages us to do a revitalization strategy area. The goal is to create communities of opportunity in distressed neighborhoods, to stimulate reinvestment in the community, and to empower low mod income residents. So it's a strategically placed HUD funded funds to have the greatest impact to the community. So we went into those neighborhoods and we started doing our housing projects, and we've done over a hundred home renovations in those neighborhoods. So to receive this designation from HUD, it has to be primarily residential, and at least 51% of the residents are low to moderate income. And it's a distressed neighborhood with the greatest potential for improvement, and it must include stakeholder participation and citizen involvement. And the benefits are there's less reporting requirements for the businesses that are creating jobs, and there's increased funding for job creation. So it allows for HUD projects I can't read my whole screen right there. Sorry, with a mix of housing types and incomes in distressed neighborhoods. So the NRSA allows us, because it is a distressed neighborhood, say the East Central neighborhood, and we went in, and I don't know if you remember the old D school. Well, we tore the city purchased that, tore it down, and built homes called Stone Hill, which are really nice for Ogden on the higher end. So it actually brought in incomes that were above the area median income, or the 80% area median income for HUD. So HUD allows us to do that because it's a specific strategy that says if you go into a low income neighborhood and you keep building low income housing, you're going to keep getting low income people. So the goal is to go into a low to moderate income neighborhood and build a higher end housing. And we did 24 homes, and we built them, and they sold to households with 80% of area median income or above. And it starts to transform the neighborhood. So unfortunately, we can't do those types of programs anymore because it's just too expensive to build housing now in Ogden. We can't purchase the land even to make it doable like we did back in the day. So, but it was a really amazing strategy. But there is a benefit to the business owners that like they get more money for the jobs that they create. They can borrow more money. So right now we're having to apply to HUD to renew our neighborhood revitalization strategy area. So the map on the left is the shaded areas are all the census tracts that are eligible to be a strategy area. And you can see it's pretty much everything west of Harrison is pretty much eligible. So we have quite a high low to moderate income a population in Ogden. So our proposed strategy area is going to be to keep the current strategy area. And the reason for that is there's so much stakeholder participation right now in this area. We have Ogden Can doing amazing projects. We have OWCAP with Head Start, and then we have the Marshall White Center coming up. And I mean, there's just the list goes on of the different stakeholders that are really putting their heart and soul in Ogden's East Central. And so we want to keep that strategy area going. So, there are other possibilities, like 5 Points in the north end of town is also a possibility. And so we're looking at that, and we're bringing that to the public also to give us your input on where you think we should be targeting our funds. So this is just some information about the neighborhood revitalization strategy area that we currently have. So it's just a look at the housing projects problems. So this is from HUD data, and we can see that the rate of housing problems have declined in the NRSA. The diamond shows you the percentage for the city. This is where the city is, but you can see the housing problems in the NRSA are pretty quite a bit higher than the rate is higher than the city's rate. And then the poverty rate has also changed over time. So it's interesting because citywide the poverty rate in Ogden has gone down, but in this area the poverty rate has gone up a bit. So we are concerned about that. That is another reason why we want to continue working in this neighborhood. And then the minority population has pretty much stayed the same. It's increased, it's decreased just a little bit from 2020 to 2023. And then we look at owner occupancy rate of housing, and we can see a real improvement in that. So there are more people buying homes in that than renting. And then if we look at the area median income, it has also gone up. So the data is really interesting. It's showing that over the last couple years, Ogden City's population has increased. The minority population has increased, but the poverty rate has decreased in Ogden. So that's a pretty interesting thing. And then also Ogden, about 15 years ago, had 5 racially concentrated areas of poverty in Ogden. So the NRSA has community support, and now we've gone down to 2, I should say. So we had 5, and now there are 2 within like 15 years. So that's an amazing turnaround. So the NRSA has community support. It has citizen involvement. We have the Jefferson Community Group. We have the Marshall White community that has really stepped up. And then we have government, private, and commercial stakeholder investment in that community. The NRSA has commercial areas to expand economic opportunities for citizens. And these census tracts show a great potential for transforming distressed neighborhoods into neighborhoods of opportunity. And a renewed NRSA is needed, we think, to keep that momentum going. So that is my presentation. I'm going to jump to this slide here. So this is actual pictures of the NRSA from HUD websites. So the first one shows that there were 5, and this was in 2010. So I'm sorry, it was 24 years ago. So we had 5 different census tracts, and then it dropped down to 4, and then it dropped down to 3. And this is the new map that HUD provided us. So we're down to 2 census tracts now, and that is this one, 2012 and 2018. So these are the 2 that are racially concentrated areas of poverty. So there still is poverty in Ogden, and actually the interesting thing about the data is that it's showing that the poverty is really quite spread all over the city. It's not concentrated in minority neighborhoods anymore, unfortunately. It's pretty spread out throughout the city. So it is kind of a change from what we've seen before. So we're really wanting to focus on that. So any questions on that? I'm just gonna go back to on the HUD programs, on our 5-year plan, our annual plan, and I'm gonna talk about the other stuff next. No questions? Okay, I'm going to just go in. So every 5 years, we do a fair housing plan, and we call it the analysis of impediments to fair housing choice. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the fair housing plan, just because President Trump's directives really kind of steer away from a fair housing plan, but we are required by the Fair Housing Act to take actions to promote fair housing in Ogden. So these are the impediments to fair housing that we did an analysis, and we looked at all sorts of data to determine how are people experiencing housing in Ogden. And we found there are a high rate of people experiencing housing issues such as evictions, mortgage loan denials. And this is some of the protected classes have a disparate impact. So we do find that evictions are more common for women, and for Black and African Americans have the highest rate of evictions. And then mortgage loan denials, we found that Hispanics have a higher rate of loan mortgage denial from their applications than whites do. So that is one of the impediments that we're going to address in our fair housing plan. And then in ineffective fair housing infrastructure, we did a fair housing survey. And in the survey, people said, we don't know where to go to get information. And then the people who did experience some fair housing issues, I think there were 16, only 3 of them had reported it. So we're looking at that, how to improve the fair housing infrastructure. And then lack of affordable housing and housing problems ranked all over the place as the highest concern. More of a concern than fair housing itself is being able to find an affordable housing. And then weak public transportation options. So those are the different areas that we're going to be looking at, that we have action items for our 5-year analysis of impediments to fair housing choice. So that's our fair housing plan. So if you have any ideas on what you think, if there's anything we're missing that we should be focusing on our attention, we'd be happy to receive that information from you. So right now our schedule is February 1 to March 2nd. We have a 30-day public comment period. And then we have our our CAC is our Citizen Advisory Committee. They'll be reviewing our plans on February 27th. Then we have a work session with City Council April 8th. And then our 30-day public comment period for the final 5-year plan will be April 12th to May 12th. And then it goes to a public hearing on May 13th. So that is our schedule. And this is just a little how you can participate. You can review our plans online. You can listen to City Council work sessions or attend a public hearing. You can send a comment during the 30-day public comment period. You can just email fairhousing@ogdencity.com with any comments. We'd be happy to receive them. And you can email those or send them by mail or drop by the office. We'd be happy to have your comments. So any questions on the presentation?
What's the difference? What have you changed from, I mean, I can see a couple of things that pop out, but
Right. We're not really changing our strategy. We're continuing the strategy. The real changes is that we've had to drop a lot of things just because we have our money, we're not getting more money from HUD. And the cost of everything is going up. And the reason why we're not getting more money is HUD bases these grants on a formula. And so the lower our poverty rate goes, the lower our money goes, and our poverty rate's gone down. So if our poverty rate went up, we'd be getting more funding, but we're getting less because our poverty rate's going down. And then the cost of everything is going up. So we had to drop like infill projects, and we used to do some slum and blight removal. One point we did some code enforcement in low-income neighborhoods, stuff like that. We've discontinued those programs just to focus on our housing and our job creation and microenterprise assistance. So it really is the same basic strategy. It's just slimmed down a lot just because our funding just doesn't go as far as it used to.
I'll bet not.
Kathy, this is Marie Kawaguchi, and I have one question, or maybe it's actually two. What kind of participation and interest do you see from the public in Ogden for these programs?
Well, like our down payment assistance, we just run out of money by the end of the year. We double our money halfway through the year and then we run out. And the reason why I say we double it is we start out with a basic budget and we get a lot of program income. You figure Ogden City has been doing the down payment assistance program since the 1980s. And most of those years, there were a few years where they were forgivable loans, but they are loan due on sale, no interest, no payment until they sell the home. So now we're getting that as program income back. So about mid-year, we look at that program income and we can add it back into our budget. So, but we're running out of money with those. And like I said, our housing rehab projects, they usually sell pretty quick. Depending on the interest rate's high right now, so it's taking a little bit longer to sell them, but we could if we could do more, we would, because they just keep going. So we have really great participation. Our small businesses in Ogden are struggling, frankly, and so we're not getting a lot of applications because it is a high interest rate. So, and we're pretty good at underwriting those. So if we feel like they're not thinking, they're not seeing it, we're seeing that there's some issues in their assumptions and we may not fund them. So we have a whole committee that reviews each loan application in detail and the underwriting. So that program is probably our least popular right now. In the past, we've had a lot of success with it. But right now, the businesses are struggling. So our micro enterprises, we could do more if we had more money because we have a lot of Hispanic micro enterprise owners that want to start a business and they're attending the technical assistance training. We've partnered with the Suazo Center who teaches the classes in Spanish. They teach basic bookkeeping, human resources, how to hire they're teaching these businesses the nuts and bolts on how to run a business. So that's been very popular too. So, and we get quite a bit, in a year, I'll get a couple in the last year, I got a couple of pages of citizen comments. So we have gotten a lot of citizen comments by me just doing these types of presentations. And we started a year ago because we knew we're doing this 5-year plan and it's due in May. So we started doing the outreach and education about what's going on. And then we get these comments as we go along. So we got quite a bit of comments. So we're getting good participation. And we have a lot of participation from like Weber State's Ogden Can. Are you guys familiar with Ogden Can?
I
No.
don't believe I am, no.
I'm
So
not either.
Ogden Can was funded by Weber State University and 6 anchor organizations, which one of them is Ogden City, and then there's Intermountain Healthcare and maybe the hospitals. There's 6 different anchor organizations that fund into this. And then they do community-based projects only in Ogden's East Central. And they'll do things like, I don't know if you've been in Ogden where they have these little libraries in the neighborhood, these little wood, and you
Yeah.
Mhm.
books them. That's one of their projects to promote childhood reading improvement in those distressed neighborhoods and stuff. So they hire like interns to do a specific type of community project to help uplift that community. And unfortunately, my mind's going blank on all the different projects they've done, but it's been really interesting to see. And there's a lot of organizations that are participating in that. And then we have My Hometown, which is a complete separation from Ogden City. It's just a nonprofit that started in Ogden, and they gather volunteers. The city does contribute like $1,000 per project, and they will go and paint someone's home or do the yard and landscaping work to bring a distressed property up to standards. I don't know how they do their project selection because they are a nonprofit. They're not Ogden City, and I haven't worked with them directly, but our office has worked with them. So they're like right there doing projects. So it's been really, it's been wonderful to see all the changes that are happening in Ogden. It really has turned things around. All this effort is starting to kind of meld together and really improving the community. Just seeing the poverty rate itself going down is a real encouraging sign, especially in how difficult it is to find housing in Ogden right now, but in everywhere. But our Ogden, even though our housing is not affordable to most households in Ogden, it is just so overpriced. It is more affordable than the surrounding cities. So Ogden City still is more affordable than most places in the area.
Yeah.
So that's why people are moving here. Yeah.
Well, thank you. That's good information. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for asking. Any other questions or comments? I would love to receive a comment. You can email fairhousing@ogdencity.com or me personally, Kathy F. at ogdencity.com. We would love to have your comments. City Council does get a list, a printout of every comment we receive, and they consider those before they finalize our plans.
Um, do you find that most people are able to keep up with the payments and et cetera? You don't lose a lot of people, or do you?
So, back around 2008, 2010, we saw a lot of foreclosures happening, and we're just not seeing it now. So I suspect it's coming because people have paid their overpriced homes, and some of the home prices are starting to decline now. We hit a peak in 2022, and they're starting to inch their way down a bit. So, but right now we're not seeing it in our office. So I don't know what that means, but
And another dumb question. When you said that there's going to be changes under the new administration, what do you see happening to this program?
so the mayor is really supportive of our HUD programs. He really sees a vision of Ogden as he calls it the Utah way, where we're really helping each others, and we have a commitment to improve the community for everyone. And so, but this is just one little slice of it. So, I mean, he does have a bigger vision. And he is actually going to have on Thursday, you're welcome to attend at 6 p.m. at the Copper Nickel on 20 between 25th and 24th on Grant Avenue. He's going to be announcing his plan for the next 4 years. And it's really working, he's really working resources to try to bring together private and federal and state and local funding to do some really amazing projects. So he's got a good vision, and this is just one little slice of it. So, and we're pretty restricted on what we can do because this is HUD funds and the regulations are pretty intense. So, but anyway, I can't speak really more on that. He's going to unveil that on Thursday.
And anyone can go to that, right? It's not like a fancy dinner.
Correct. It's open to everyone. And if you'd like, I'll try to see if I can find a Zoom link for it and send that to you if you want to watch it online.
Oh, that would be awesome. Okay, now go higher, federal level. Do you think the federal level is going to change anything?
Oh, it has already. Yes. So the federal level, we have the Fair Housing Plan. We did, I spent months actually working on it, doing data analysis, pulling all sorts of data that's available on mortgage lending, on appraisals, and looking at the protected classes. And the president just signed an executive order last Wednesday saying we're not doing fair housing, whatever. So, but we still are going to do fair housing in Ogden City because we have HUD funds, and the Fair Housing Act of 1968 requires that HUD and HUD grantees promote fair housing, and not just to be fair, but to promote it and to take meaningful action to desegregate housing and to be inclusive. So that is from federal law. The executive order that President Trump signed on Wednesday says, no, we're not going to do that. Kind of.
Oh, Lord.
So the emphasis is definitely not on fair housing right now. So it's a big shift. So just to put it in perspective, when Obama was president, we had a fair housing plan and then he upped it a level. He said, now we're going to do, it's called an equity assessment. And right before it could really get implemented, Trump got elected the first time. And then Trump said, we're not doing any of this. So then for 4 years, we just pretty much did our own fair housing plan, like I showed you the impediments here. It's a lengthy report, but and then Biden got elected, and then he said, well, we're going to do a fair housing plan. And then FHEO, the fair housing officer, came and said, well, what have you been doing for fair housing? Well, when Trump was president, we were not required. He said, we're not doing it. But Ogden City kept doing it because it is federal law. So once again, we're in that position where we have federal law, and then we have a president saying, nope, we're not going to do this. So we're following the federal law, but we're only doing, like I showed you, those impediments in our action items. We have this whole 70-page report on how we came up with our impediments and our analysis and everything. We have that background, so we know that we're doing what we can to promote fair housing. Even regardless of what the president says or does, we're still required to federal law. So we're doing that, and we're just not making it a big issue like we could. So it is part of our plan. So we're confident that we've done the work to make it a thoughtful, meaningful action plan for fair housing. And we'll see what the president is going to do next. It's like the pendulum just swings back and forth. I'm telling you, we're just keeping steady here, doing our fair housing plan and just trying to make the meaningful actions for our community.
I have a feeling that's
And a
what.
lot of us appreciate that. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Any other questions, you guys? Susan, you're being very quiet. No, none? I've been asked to ask if you would share your PowerPoint with us. Because
Yes, I'd
obviously
be
I
happy
didn't
to.
turn the recording on in time, but that is kind of self-explanatory, so I could send that out too, and maybe share it with other people, if that's
Yes,
okay.
definitely. Yes. And one of the reasons also that we focus on housing a lot and our business loans is because they pay back. So we're getting that money back and then we're reusing it. So
Oh,
so right now we get about a million and 1.3 million of HUD funds every year. And we double that with our program income from all the years of these deferred payment loans and they pay back. And then the business loans, they have a high interest rate, but they're making monthly payments. So the strategy has really worked to take those HUD dollars and really make them as effective as we can. And it just perpetuates with this program income from all the years we've been doing this. So that's one of the reasons why we stay with this program because this strategy is because it's really helping us the biggest bang for our buck, you know?
sounds like it. And
So yeah,
helps
I would be
people.
happy to send it to you. And I really want to thank you for your time. I appreciate any comments you send. That'd be great.
Anybody
And
else?
thank you for the presentation. I certainly appreciated it. It was very interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
I'll send
Bye-bye.
you names, you send me the link. You were gonna send a link of something.
I will see if I can, I believe they're going to Zoom the mayor's
Um,
state of the city kind of presentation. And if that's the case, I will send it to you. I'll ask tomorrow because
okay,
it's Thursday night at 6 p.m. And I think you can Zoom into it. So I will send you that link.
okay, awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. Nice to see you this year. This sounds really good to me.
Glad to hear that.
I want to get poor so you can help me. I'm already
No, you
poor.
don't. All righty. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Bye bye.